Hello, good morning, or good afternoon, I should say. My name is Marcus Ruiz Evans. I started the Calexit movement in 2012 with my book, California's Next Century 2.0. In 2013, the first article ever written on the topic of California being a semi-independent nation or fully independent nation, whatever you want to call it, was written by Tom Elias, the reporter or columnist, I should say, who started the 2003 recall election and is one of the most well-known syndicated columnists in California covering California politics. He wrote the first article on this idea that would become known as Calexit in 2016 on my book, California's Next Century 2.0. From there, I met other people and we built Sovereign California and then various other organizations, which we won't name. And today we have the Calexit movement. Now, the Calexit movement is still about 160,000 people across different social media platforms and email lists, down from around 220,000, which we lost due to rumor mills, thanks to Rachel Maddow. But it's still about 160,000 humans who recognize me as the definitive godfather of the movement who got things started, and also recognize Jason as the new leader of the Calexit movement because of our time here doing this. We're very appreciative to do that. This is an interview where I will be showing you why Jason is the right person for the job, how he came to do the job, and what Jason's visions for the future are. Basically, I want to let you know that there's a reason why Jason should be the leader, and there's a reason why you should give him full trust that I have given him. I'm hoping that you can see what I see and have seen for the last couple of years in just these 30 minutes of interview. We will take comments at the end if they are relevant. If they are not, we will not show any of them as my standard policy. Today we're wearing all black to match because it represents the end of an old era and the beginning of a new one. The black is the signification of death. Gray is the signification of, well, usually a murky beginning, but fair enough, a new beginning. And we wanted to show past transitioning into future visually as we tell you with words why this is a good transition. Now, I'm always going to be around. I'll never leave the idea. I've created it. I've followed it. I love it. I still believe in it, no matter what. But I've always believed that new leadership and new ideas is important. If anybody knows me, they know that I have a phrase that I use all the time, which is let the market decide. And what that means is that maybe you got the right idea, maybe I got the right idea, maybe neither one of us have a good idea, and it's that other guy or lady in the corner. Who knows? You put things out there and you let the market decide. I've enjoyed my time in leadership for a while. I've done a lot. I took over July 4th, 2017, about 5 years ago. I was the de facto head of the organization. Before that, I was literally the field general commanding the whole thing. While I was outranked, the person who outranked me was literally not on the continent during all of the key times of the movement. I was vice president at the time, but I was effectively the leader, and then I took over the position as official leader. July 4th, 2017, I resigned that recently in order to avoid total destruction of my professional reputation and of the movement. I still feel it was the right decision. I know that it was a controversial decision, but I back it. Not everybody has to agree. It's something that I live with on my own. That's fine. But the point is that due to Jason's prompting, we did hold elections. We did reach out to the Calexit Congress, which was the group that all of the previous officers had agreed would be making all of the big decisions for the organization. We did contact 2/3 of those people. We did reach out to them. We held votes. Anybody could run. People had about 4 weeks to be notified of this, participate, run, or cast their vote. The whole thing was overseen under the interim presidency of Jason Wright. The elections were held democratically. Everybody said they were done well. And about 2/3 of the people that we contacted unanimously voted for the slate of officers in there, including some people who abstained, but they said, I trust the decisions of the others. So we do have a new officer corps. I'm president. You're seeing the new CEO of the Calexit movement as elected by the people who were supposed to be the ones only who could make major policy decisions for the previous organization, or whatever you want to call the collection of 160,000 people who represent 1/3 of the population. As I've routinely said, Nobody quit Calexit because they stopped believing California could survive or would be better off independent from America. They quit because of infighting, politics, and things they saw on TV. I recently conducted an interview last month with a gentleman that I've never met before. And I brought up the idea of Calexit. And he said, hell yes, because the federal government gives us nothing and we give them everything. I couldn't have said it better myself. The point is that I didn't know this man existed. I met him randomly a month ago, and he was still talking about Calexit, which to me proves that you still have a third of the population who's interested in this idea, just as the Reuters, Ipsos, and Stanford University studies showed in January, February 2017. About 32.5% of the population were interested in that. So we still believe there's a over 100,000 person matrix of people who are involved. They know both of these faces. They respect both of these faces as the leaders, regardless of what anybody says or any other political accoutrement. And we still believe that the market of 1/3 or about 15 million people of the world's fifth largest economy is still there. Now, in normal politics, any politician would reach out to that third, but in these times, nobody's reaching out to this group and acting like they don't exist. If this was the independent voters, both political parties would be recognizing them, trying to reach out to them, acknowledging them. Yet we have a third of the voting base and the popular base here in California, and like no politicians even acknowledging this massive group exists. It's artificial unacknowledgement, let's just say. So today we want to get into who this man is and why he should be in charge and what's going on. So let's start first with, how did you come into the position? You've been with us, I think, since around January, February, easily December 2016 or February 2017. You came on with the first onslaught of about 40,000 additional people who came with the election of Donald Trump. I believe you had worked in the Bay Area. You were there at the literally first meetings in the Bay Area. I remember one weekend where we had about 4 or 5 organized, and you were literally running around, driving or taking buses to make sure to hit a couple of them, because we had 40,000 people come online within 2 weeks. So we had to organize meetings to let these people know there was something in their area and they could meet people in LA and in the Bay Area. And it was more than we could really handle. Jason was there at those very first meetings. He attended many of them. He worked with some of the other leaders in the area. And eventually he rose to become the Bay Area Regional Coordinator. And that title he's held for multiple years. So there's 2 major metro areas in California. One is the Bay Area, one is LA. Jason was the leader for the second largest metro area in all of California for the last 3 to 4 years. After that time, he began applying to become the vice president. I personally endorsed that idea, but I wasn't able to run it up the flagpole and get enough approval from everybody. Although basically he was the only one really in running, I would say, for the last year as vice president of the organization, because everybody saw you doing things and always going to the meetings and being a backup, and you were, my advisor personally, and I spent a lot of time training you. So you went from pure volunteer to going to all the major meetings in the Bay Area when we got big around February 2017, to evolving to the Bay Area Regional Coordinator, to holding that position for a few years, to doing international interviews underneath that, I think once or twice. And then under that time, you had reached out, I believe, to the Armenians, the South Africans, and then also were invited to the Bay Area Economic Council, which is a very prestigious group of the top 100 business leaders in all of the world. Jason was invited, and he started being able to speak at those levels, which prompted me to say, well, maybe he could be vice president. I was working on that. He was basically the de facto person to hold that position if we were going to hold elections. There was a little bit of concern that if we held elections, other people might be jealous, so that was part of it. But I still think we would have eventually got there if things were allowed to run out. He would have been holding the position of vice president. But that's not the way that it worked. I stepped down as an officer. I never left the movement. And then the other things happened. We don't have to get into that. And then Jason decided, let's hold elections with the Calexit Congress. That's the way things should work. Free and transparent elections, I believe is what you said. You were the interim president, overseeing that for about 4 weeks. Absolutely no one disagreed with you holding that title or post that we spoke to at all in any capacity. No one said the elections were unfair at all in any capacity. I've talked to everybody. And so we held the elections and you won the election. And one of the things I liked about that was that you never said it has to be me. You said, maybe it's not going to be me. Maybe I'll lose. But you were dedicated to holding free and fair elections, like a burgeoning third world country. And so you did. So you've moved up the ranks to this position. and you may not have even had this position. You didn't even know. You were more interested in making sure that we just got a new stable plateau, and in that you happened to accept this position. So I want to disrupt anybody who's coming in saying this was some secret plot to push yourself all the way through. I was there at the elections. Other people could have ran. Nobody did. People could have protested. I was talking with you. You never said it's guaranteed me and I'm going to rig these things to be that. So free and fair elections, and you are now the de facto leader of the Calexit movement. How does it feel?
Well, it has been a whirlwind, honestly. You know this through our time working very closely together. By the way, this is not an illusion.
Oh,
we are really here together.
Now poke my face. Ah! So yes, we're actually here. We know each other. It's not a game.
It's real, folks.
Yeah.
This is not,
trickery.
Yeah. So you know from our work together, but most people probably don't know that I did not want to be the head. I did not want to be the leader of the thing. Totally into it, totally love it, totally supporting and doing everything I can. But I didn't want, I don't want to be king of the hill.
Yeah.
Some people really, really do. They only care about being king of the hill. We're not like that. I'm not like that. I've never been like that. And, for me, I've always respected you as the leader. I mean, sure, there was another person who at one point in time held rank and title above everyone else. And as you pointed out, they weren't even here in North America. They weren't in this part of the world.
About 98% of the time. Yeah.
So, who was really leading it? That guy.
Thank you. Position I fell into.
Yeah, and so I've also kind of fallen into this. You stepped down, resigned as the CEO, as the top dog, and then the other person left, threw in the towel, and, very publicly too. Like, they can try and backtrack all they want, but they put it out there themselves in their own words.
Yeah.
So they have to call themselves a liar in order to make that claim.
Yeah.
And so I was the only, officer left in the whole thing. All sorts of people supporting the movement.
That's right.
But there was just me left, and I didn't want to be the king of the hill. I did not want to lead this. And like you stated, during the whole thing, and you can watch it on the videos, I believe they're on Marcus's channel here, I stated pretty clearly, I don't know if it'll be me. I don't know, the way that people are going to vote. I don't know what they want. But the only way to find out is to hold the election. And, that's why I did it. And, I'm glad to have your faith and your trust and, your support and also your help, because I didn't want to be the king of the hill. I didn't want to lead this all.
That's totally true. He didn't. He was a little bit reluctant. I was reluctant. I think anybody who's a good leader is reluctant. I think part of your reluctance to being leader was you were my consigliere. You were my go-to, which is why I was looking for you. And you were saying I should be vice president. I was agreeing with you that. And so you had saw everything I had to go through.
Yeah.
And I think you saw that it wasn't all on the brochure. It wasn't everything you saw on the brochure. There was a lot to being boss that was not a whole lot of fun. Important work had to get done, had to be done. It's part of the job. It's responsibility. It's a duty. You have to do it. But
a lot of tedium.
Yeah, a lot of tedium.
But also a lot of drama.
My fave. So you've been with this for years. Why stick around?
Well, so that's an interesting question that I don't think has really come up yet. I would point out real quick, an ever so slight correction is that I became the Bay Area Regional Coordinator before we had that influx. It was before Trump's election that I joined.
Oh.
And then once we got this massive influx, I, with you, helped to figure out how to do the social media and outreach and the international outreach and get the attention, get people to realize Californians, folks, you, me, you, everyone, we can do this. And that's when we saw that 40,000, and it was a very concerted effort from the whole group. It took everyone. It was not just me. I just, I happen to know the social media thing well enough that I can,
there was a lot of people. There was a lot of people that rose to leadership. Absolutely. You were just one, but you were pivotal and you were known even early on. You were making a name for yourself. I think just through chutzpah, as they used to call it. And basically, you were willing to move and hustle. You're like, I'll go to 3 meetings in a day. Not everybody signs up for that. They might sign up for one. And you're like, well, we really need somebody to go out to 3 to make sure they're done. You're like, I'll do it, and I'll have to take the transit. And I'll spend 5 hours that day on transit, but I'll get it done.
Yeah.
I mean, not everybody rolls up with that kind of attitude that kind of automatically places you in it.
And that's not a random example there, folks. That actually happened.
Yeah.
So I was named as Bay Area Regional Coordinator.
Yeah.
Everyone in the Bay Area region, it is now my duty at that point in time to coordinate, to gather people, to, bring everyone together, get things going, share the information, help inspire.
Since at least early 2017, or you're saying 2017, if not late 2016.
Yeah.
Okay. So about 5 years.
So with all of that, I then helped to find people in the region who could be their local leaders and set up these chapters. And I taught people how to run the chapters. I ran them over all of the language and literature, the messaging, right? Got them up to speed with, at the very least, where I was at as the regional coordinator. Now, we had, what was it, like 28 different chapters across all of California?
Yeah.
And several of them were all here in the Bay, just a cluster of them.
Oh, yeah. Oakland, San Francisco, I think 2 in San Francisco, 1 in Oakland, 1 in Berkeley, 1 in San Jose, I think 1 in Burlingame, oddly enough. And then I believe there was 1 in San Rafael up in the Marin area. So that's at least
Marin County.
Yeah. And then I think there was a interior East Bay, Livermore. Like that. So it's about 8, just in that area. And you were very much involved with all those.
Interestingly enough, people around the Lawrence Livermore Laboratory happen to be at least interested in the idea of Calexit.
Support for Calexit has always been huge in the Bay Area. Always. It's one of the biggest places. That's most super liberal, and super liberal people are generally more for this than anyone else. But why stick through? It's 5 years. There was a huge explosion of popularity, December 2016, February 2017. Then it was a year of accusations and name calling and threats. And I thought I was going to do federal prison time, honestly. I didn't confess that to my family until after I got cleared by the FCC investigation and the Mueller report and the House Intelligence Committee report and the Senate Select Intelligence Committee report. And it was about a year after that I started telling my family, like, hey, I really thought I was going to do time, because not that I did anything wrong, but I was accused of 7 different felonies in 2017 alone. And when people accused you, they were like, wrote it out like, I got this evidence and this person did this and I contacted the FBI. So I didn't think I did anything wrong. I know I didn't, but I thought, this is America. People will just make it up and it'll stick. And as a Latino, and as we've talked about, I have family in law enforcement, and many people in law enforcement are good people, but there are also instances of people in law enforcement planting evidence. I've seen the family
abusing civil rights of upstanding members of their own community, people who volunteer for their churches and are beloved by their churches.
Right. So we've both seen this. Like, it was in the back of my head that the justice system holds up for people with money and resources, and if you have neither, it's a luck of the draw. That's just the hard reality. So, it kind of shocked the hell out of me. You're watching people being threatened with crimes, being investigated at the highest orders of American thing. I think they even had Leon Panetta, the Secretary of Defense, at one time threaten one of the people. And yet you didn't leave. You stuck around. And you weren't getting paid for this. And occasionally you go to protests and there's angry protesters there. Why stay through all the abuse? That sounds a little bit insane. Now, I mean, I did it, but I mean, just looking at looking from the outside in, I mean, that sounds a little. You tell me, look at the camera. Why would you put up with all of this abuse for half a decade? Because you weren't doing it to get to this position. This just happened. You were just in the game, and then you continued, got promoted. You were like, one day I'm going to be here. So you were just sticking out. Why stick it out?
I like to joke that I'm a glutton for punishment. Really what it is I realized the viability and I realized how much I want it. And the main reason that I want Calexit is to save 40 million people, only one of which is myself. You know who's another one? This guy right here, who I actually care about. He's a good dude. He's been my mentor on all of this for some years now. Like, I would not have felt right if I had just, things are getting hot, throw in the towel and run away and be all scared. And no, we're aiming for something that's much bigger than even accusations of treason and being some secret Russian. I don't think your eyes are blue enough and your hair blonde enough for you to be Russian. I mean, you do have a strong jawline.
Thank you, Comrade. Thank you, Comrade. I am natural born American citizen, yes. As you say, go dogs. I love your American football because I too am natural American citizen, yes?
Yeah.
Right.
So
a lot of practice.
So obviously, if I was to just give up, I would have felt like I was doing you a disservice. I would have felt like I was doing all of you a disservice. And I would feel like I'm doing myself a huge disservice. And as you said, it's not because I had aspirations to be the leader. It was really just because I want Calexit. I want freedom. I want 40 million of my brothers and sisters to live well, to do well, to feel safe, to not have to worry if, we're going to end up permanently crippled like myself, or if they're going to just disappear you. Oh, that only happens at Gulag. No, it happens here in America all day, every dang day.
Yeah. My dad was in the military, and he asked me once, are you going to get shot in the head? My tia asked me once, are you going to get shot in the head? I had like 3 family members go, you're going to get shot in the head, right? Like, they said it and they meant it. That was a couple of years ago, but it was real. It was real. I'm convinced I'm a little bit crazy. Nobody sane would go through that. Like, it's not normal or rational.
Well, and that's why I like to joke that maybe I'm just a glutton for punishment. But really, it's because I really do feel strongly about all of this. I've looked into it enough that, it's not a questionable thing. It's not something where I look at it and say, could this potentially go wrong? Are we missing something here with the legality of it? No, it's all been very, very, very thoroughly explored. And that was the other part of why I stuck around. Put all sorts of work into it for some years. And, like a year or 2 at that point when, the Rachel Maddow made some comments, some very flippant comments that have later come out to be confirmed as just her opinion. But at the time, she stated that it was fact. That we are Russian propaganda. We are Russian spies. We got money personally from Vladimir Putin.
Yeah,
I mean, I know I'm dressing kind of nice right now, but anyone who's tuned in has seen, usually I wear a hoodie, I'm not made of money. I'm homeless. I lost my job and everything.
We were accused
Where's
of
all
getting-
this money from?
No, bro. These are reasonable price suits. Like if we were getting the money they were claiming, we'd be wearing like Armani with gold chains and also. I mean, the amount of money they were saying we were having was beyond what this is. I mean, this is like Men's Warehouse. I know how to shop, but still, we'd be like having. We have those like gaudy Italian things that are like like $3,000 suits.
Yeah.
I got one once, but it was for my brother, not myself.
I'm looking forward to one day when I can afford the rich politician one that's got the bulletproof lining. And
Like the Brazilian politicians? Yeah. So how is the transition going? We're going to get into your plans for the future. How's the transition going? How did the elections go? How did you feel about your role in the elections? Were you satisfied? Were you content? What have you done since the elections happened? Roughly a little bit of the boring administrative period. And then we'll get into the exciting, what is your vision for the future? So how did the transition go? Were you happy? Were you content? Were there mistakes? Could you have done better? And what were you happy about?
yeah, the elections were interesting. I was really good in political science and debate. Contrary to what one single person on the planet says, those who've actually paid attention know that I'm very good at reading socio-political everything from around the world, and also at being able to discuss this all. I do diligent research and then I go and discuss. It's not like I've ever been one for talking out the side of my neck, so to speak.
True.
So the elections for me, when I was left as the last man standing, right? The last person
The
standing.
last officer of the Calexit movement who had not resigned their position, meaning you were the de facto top officer for a period.
Exactly. The
Which is
way
what you asked.
nonprofits and other organizations work, having helped to facilitate and administrate other nonprofit entities before this one, before ever getting involved with any sort of independence, anything. I just knew that, the last standing officer becomes the de facto head, and it's pretty much their choice right then and there. Do you want it to continue, or do you want to just throw in the towel and give it all up? And to me, this is too important to just give up. And now, if I felt like I've already put too much time and energy and effort and whatnot into it after just a couple of years, after this many years, I'm not going anywhere. What's the one of my favorites is Stargate. Bring Stargate back. We want Stargate. Teal'c, one of the characters played
yes.
by Christopher Judge, great actor, by the way. Wild equines could not remove me.
Okay, I get it.
Or undomesticated equines.
Undomesticated.
Wild horses couldn't drag me away.
Right, yeah. In nerd talk.
Yeah. So I felt this strongly back then. I still feel this strongly now. It's been even more years. There's been even more work. I've held that title of Bay Area Regional Coordinator, helped to bring people together, helped to do all sorts of international outreach. I just had too much writing to just justify throwing in the towel.
Yeah, but how specifically did you feel about the elections that you held as interim president? Were you pleased with your time as interim president and your success at that time?
Yeah. I realized it fell on me. I decided, I'm not going to throw in the towel. And I did what I know to do. Hold free and fair elections that are, open to all of our voting members that we have left. And, because not every member of Calexit wants to be a voting member. Not everyone wants to step up and take charge. And, hey, that's fine. If you still support Calexit, that's really, when it comes time to vote on the California independence referendum, that's when it matters the most. That's what'll matter the most. Not who's the head and who's the king of the hill and what flag do we wave and what money do we use and what about our passport? All of these trivial questions that we were getting bogged down with for years that are usually the questions that independence movements, someone throws this question out there to slow them down, and they slow down, they get bogged down. Well, we blasted right through it. We figured that out. We got our answers.
Yeah.
We got our stuff together.
Got our stuff together. That's right.
And, this was just kind of another part of it, was we've done so much. I went with it. I'm the last guy standing, last person standing on this. It makes me it's all riding on me. Either we continue or drop it. And I said, yeah, no, we're going to continue it because it's not about me. It's not about Marcus. It's about all of us. 40 million, roughly. And so I just did what I remembered from political science class. And, I pay attention to the way people vote nowadays and have voted, trends in voting and socio-political stances. And it told me very clearly, if the people who see this see it as anything sort of unjust or some sort of rigged, hinky election, right? Some fake thing, they'll never support it. And not that I need to put on an act that's convincing, because I'm actually into it. So I don't need to put on an act. What you see and hear is what you get. I try to keep my sailor mouth, censored enough for friendly ears. But ultimately, I'm not presenting you with anything that I don't present to my own friends in my personal life. People who know me personally, people who have been to my live concert performances over the years, people who, yes, musician, people who've eaten my cooking at the community dinners that I used to hold, that I helped to start up and helped to run and facilitate. They know this is what everyone gets. I am no different in any way with anyone other than maybe the amount of sailor mouth, which, I gotta give myself a little.
So you were pleased with the elections, and you generally felt that they went okay.
Yeah. Personally, I wish that we had more voting members.
Sure.
At that point.
Sure.
It's one of the things that I would like to see over this coming next, 6 months. I don't want it to take the whole year. That's how dedicated I am to this. I don't want it to take a whole year just to rebuild our voting member base. I want that done so we can move on, so we can Calexit now.
Right.
And, I think it went well. It was fair. It was democratic. I did everything that, an election is supposed to do. And, the best way that I could possibly do it from my smartphone. This is why finally you can see me so clearly. I'm in Marcus's studio. So the elections, I think, went well. There are some personal things that I'm like, I kind of wish we had a little more of this, or, I'm glad that we made room for abstentions. Right. People can abstain and say, yeah, I don't think you guys are making the wrong decision on, this position. I don't really have an opinion on it. Whatever you decide, whatever the group decides,
yeah.
I trust you.
Yeah, nobody said that it was unfair. Even people who left after the elections voted for everybody and said the process seemed completely fair. And I was like, okay, I don't know why you're leaving now, but thanks for unanimously backing up everything we did, because we still have you on record as voting and backing us up and saying it's fair. So I appreciate the support.
Those two people did not abstain. They actually voted yes across the board. So
yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, maybe they left, but they had no problems or criticisms with the process up until the time that they left. Nor did they say anything was wrong with the system as they left. So, okay, let's get to the part that um, I think you're really looking forward to. I'm going to take a 1 minute break to take a call. I'd like you to look into the camera like you're speaking to 40 million people. And I know you have some notes written down. What are your plans for the future? And if you could present yourself as if you are president or CEO directly to the people, what is it you plan for the future? I'm going to take a call. We got calls coming in all the time. I'll be right back, cover the plans for the future, and then I'll come in and interview you for that, and we'll wrap it up. Is that okay?
So,
Okay. Give me a break. I'll be right back.
so my plans for the future, for our future together as Calexit, as Californians, I would love to see us strengthen our ties with one another while we're severing the political bands which have connected us to America and their failing systems. We need to grow strong. And maybe this is just my opinion, but I think there are a lot of folks who feel this way, that we need to show a little more California love, California pride. Be happy that you're a Californian in a world of many, many different things. A lot of good things and a lot of bad things. A lot of different kind of people. A lot of decent average folk and a lot of really shady folk who are usually the ones running things, which is why I don't want to be the head guy, right? My plans are to regrow, re-strengthen, rebuild, restructure ever so slightly so that we're a little more of a formal again. I've got experience running nonprofit organization, based on helping the people, building community. This is what I do. This is one of those things I'm really good at, folks. And this is what I want from you and you and you and you and me and everyone, all of us Californians. I want us to come together as Californians. We are so different from person to person because California is so diverse, but we have so much in common. With all of our personal differences, us Californians have a certain way of thinking about things, a certain way of feeling about things. This is what we need to recognize while the mainstream corporate media is out there telling us that we need to fear each other and hate each other and see each other as just different and wrong and dumb. Now is our time to say, no, we are not that. We don't buy that narrative. I hear that that's the narrative you're pushing, but what we feel and believe is different from what you feel and believe, America. We are Californians. Now, with this slight restructuring, part of it is going to mean bringing in more talented people. If you have talents that you want to put to good use for all 40 million of us, not for me, not for Marcus, not for some organization, for California. If you have skills that you want to put to use, I will gladly accept any and all the help we can get. I promise you now, I will work my best to find the spot that you fit the best and help you shine. Because no one person can do this all together. That's why we need this little bit of restructuring. It's all been a king of the hill kind of a build to it this whole time. And you know what? Now that I'm the head guy and I get to say, we're not going to do any more of that, one ring to rule them all kind of stuff. What we're going to do is we're going to build a true organized movement of the people seeking self-determination, which is a fundamental human right as laid out by the United Nations in its entrance treaty. In order to be a member of the UN, the nation's, the applicant nation's leader has to sign that treaty. And under rule of law here in America, which, until we Calexit, the rule of law of America still applies. And guess what, America? You agreed that treaties and trade deals come before even the sacred founding documents of America. Treaties and trade deals such as the United Nations Entrance Treaty, the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, local, state law, municipal law, right? So this is agreed to by the federal government, that this holds more weight than even the federal government has. All we have to do is reach out and take it. But in order to get that done, we need to come together. We need to work on this together. I have seen a lot of the fallout. I have been ever so slightly off camera for a lot of the old drama. And for some of the more recent drama, I've been right here with y'all, right? So it's not that I like drama. I really don't. Maybe when it comes to theater, but not with real life. Not when we're talking the potential to save 40 million people from what has quickly become a neo-fascist regime. I'll be 36 on the 5th of March. I'll be 36 in my lifetime. Just between the point in time that I learned American civics and now, I have seen what America has become, how it has spiraled out of control, how it has failed the people. I'm from a long line of people who served honorably in the military across several different branches, doing all sorts of things. Some really boring, some really crazy cool that, you can't talk about that. I've got mad respect for those folks who went and served. And, America says, there's a contract you signed to join. America says, as part of, our end of the bargain, we will take care of you. Should anything happen, we will take care of you. You do not have to worry. We got you because you got us. And, I know I'm not the only person who sees it. The American government does not truly care about the people. It cares about the profits, the corporate profit margins. And yes, a country needs to maintain its economic output and, not collapse. True. But at the sake of your word, your bond, at the sake of breaking actual legal contracts, at the sake of letting people freeze to death or starve to death out on the streets, people who served to protect you and me and every one of us and our way of life. America has really, really failed, starting with veterans. And I don't know if there's really a group or a class other than the corporate class that it hasn't failed. So let's all come together as Californians and say, we can do better. Just remember, as long as we are under the heel of America and its federal government, its systems of usury and corruption and legalized enslavement through the private prison system, and, it's not just the private prisons. If we can come together and realize that we want better than that, we want different from that, the choice is clear. We just need to Calexit now. So what I want is for us to come together, not because of our differences, but in spite of whatever little differences we have, because ultimately our similarities to one another, between us 40 million people, hey, just between you and me and the 39.99 other million people, we are different from them, but we are the same in a lot of ways to us, to one another. So, and not to make it a us versus them, because honestly, America can't compete with California. Economically speaking, America is nice and high up on the list because California is counted in there. And just below them is California alone by itself. Without California equated into America's GDP figures, America is no longer on the camera. They're in the double digits. It's bad. And California actually rises up. So, they really can't compete with us. And they're only able to do all of this push for starting World War III because they've got enough money. Well, how do they get the money while the economy is tanking and, there's a pandemic and all this fear? And, well, I'll tell you, it's pretty simple. They've got the money because in the American federal government's wallet is one of those, black cards that's got the unlimited spending credit line. And that's called California. That's what we are to them. A blank check. A book of blank checks that they just, we need $1 trillion for the Pentagon. Got it. Oh, money for the people for the holidays? At a point in time where no one really has any money? No, they don't need money. It's the, let them eat cake. But the people wanted bread, not cake. They wanted bread with their, bread, meat, cheese, something filling, something that will sustain them, not some hollow, empty calories that does nothing. But America gives the flippant response. And, Nancy Pelosi, famously from California, has been in the federal government of America for so long, she is no longer Californian. Her way of life does not reflect 99% of the way Californians are. People like yourselves, myself, people like Marcus. Yeah, it looks nice. I borrowed this from Marcus. Not the shirt, but, it helps to have a nice looking jacket on, too. We don't spend $46,000 on a 1-year supply of handmade imported Italian gelato. Come on. This is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard. At the start of the pandemic, I need the entire year's supply shipped over from Italy right now. I don't care how much it costs. Well, you know who does care how much it costs? The people who put you into office, Nancy. So, again, let's realize what we have in common. Let's realize that these people who go to work for the American federal government quickly lose touch with California-ness, Californian way of being and way of thinking and way of life, California values. They throw it all out the window for money. Once they've got that money, they don't care about us and what we need. They care only about what they want. And what they want is more money so they can get more gelato. And hey, you know, if I had the money, maybe I would go and buy some fancy gelato. Not $46,000 worth, not a whole dang year's supply. Well, what if I want another flavor? What if I want to try something different? Well, I'm pretty much invested in Italian gelato at that point. And, you know, couldn't spend domestically in her home state that she's from, that she supposedly represents. No. Nothing wrong. Again, you know, I got nothing against Italy. I'm sure their gelato is, you know, being shipped around the world because it's really good. I wouldn't know because I will probably never be able to afford that. But again, we need to realize these truths. You know, we hold these truths to be self-evident. All people are created equal, no matter how much money you have, no matter who you work for, whether you have a job or not. We as Californians are one people. We have much more in common with each other than we might realize. And if we all come together and we put our collective brain power to good use and we exercise our talents and our abilities, and you know, the sky is the limit, the stars are the limit. There is no limit. California, all 40 million of us, economically, societally, socially, right? Politically, we could really, really astound the world. We could set a new standard. And we frequently have over the years. There have been many things, you know, California representing at, you know, a climate summit when the United States of America and the federal government of America said, no, we don't care about the environment. Californians cared enough that California went and had some representation at that. And the world loved it. And our being there and being involved and being active and being interested, that's what drove it to become more. When the world looks to America to lead, well, they don't really do it so much anymore. Pretty much just NATO countries, and it's more of bullying the NATO countries into letting America force them into all sorts of craziness, such as the beginning of World War III. But when they did look to America to lead, most of what they were getting was actually Californian influence. They were seeing and hearing a lot of what California was saying. And it really does resonate with a lot of the world. Most of the world is not run by psychopath dictators. Sure, back when I was first born, in the 80s, at the end of the freaking Cold War, when the Soviets were a thing, which they aren't anymore. Don't be fooled by the mainstream media telling you, oh, these Soviet Russians. There are no more Soviet Russians. They're not Soviet. They're actually like a capitalist country. They're pretty American over there now. No offense. We can see all these things. We can project ourselves into the future, and we can help to shape, help to guide the rest of the world to a better place while we're doing it for ourselves. By just doing it for ourselves, we can set that example. People will see this, they will take note, They will listen. But we have to come together on this one fundamental issue. Do we deserve better? I think we do. I think a lot of you out there agree. So if you agree and you're interested and you say to yourself, hey, I've got a little bit of time, or, I've got a mind for this sort of thing or that sort of thing, contact me. Contact Marcus. He always posts his email. He's president, right? I'm CEO, and so technically I'm the head dog. But Marcus is still here. He's still very much an integral part of this whole thing. Send either one of us a message. Tell us, I have these talents. I am interested in putting them to use for California, for all of us. We will make it happen together, or we will continue to be subjugated into oblivion together. It's our choice. What are we going to decide? My apologies if that was a little bit of a rant. Here is our wonderful host returning.
So we'll wrap up by concluding, what are your visions for the future? Where would you like to go? This is my favorite exercise. So you have 3 minutes. We're trapped in an elevator. Not trapped, but you saw me get into an elevator and you saw $1 billion sticking out of my pocket. And then you saw a Post-it note that I just happened to attach saying, I'm looking for a cause to donate in and join myself. You don't know if you'll ever see me again. You have 3 minutes to impress me that you have some sort of articulated vision for the future. Maybe the resources aren't in place. Maybe not everything's set up, but you know where you want to go. What would you like to do with the organization moving forward? What are the accomplishments you'd like to have? What are the major things you'd like to do? And you got to be able to summarize this up in less than 3 minutes and impress the hell out of me. So what would you say to someone?
I would say mainly what I just said is, we've got a lot of similarities between all of us Californians. We've got a lot of similarities. Not as many differences as we're led to believe. These similarities mean that we should come together. We really could do this if we came together, if we recognize that we are Californians. I would say there is proper legal means, legal structure, providing the method to go about doing this, seeking self-determination. We've got everything we need. We're walking through an apple orchard. The apples are ripe and we're hungry. Why not, especially when the owner of the apple orchard says, oh yeah, help yourself, take an apple or two, or, take as many as you can carry because I've got more apples than what I can even do anything with. Why won't we pick an apple and feed ourselves? Why not? There is no legitimate, valid excuse. And that's what we would need, is an excuse, not a reason. Because there is no reason why we should not feed ourselves when we've got permission. We've got it here hanging from the tree in front of our face. All we need to do is grab it and pluck. And then bite. So there is no reason not to. There are myriad reasons to do it. So let's just get it done. It's been some years that we've been talking about this. We've looked into everything. All of the insanely complex and detailed questions. We've been through it. We've calculated it all. And we've come out with a very deep understanding that it is more than possible if only we will feed ourselves. Do you want to give $1 billion?
What would be the top three things? What would be the top three things that you'd like to accomplish in the next 2 months, or at least begin to, for the organization?
Well, the partial restructuring, the reformation of legitimacy as an organization, bringing more interested, powerful minds together up into the inner workings of this to help bring this about so that we stop spinning our wheels in the mud. We can actually get some traction. I would love to see, my birthday is March 5th. It's coming up pretty fast. If you've got a California flag and you love the heck out of California, go ahead. Fly that California pride everywhere. Like the back of your truck or car or Prius, outside of your home, on your flagpole if you've got one, decals on the car. A friend of mine wrote #Calexit in the dust on his car. And, it's as simple as that. Show some California love. Let's make some headlines together. That's going to draw more attention and bring in more people, more brilliant minds who can help get this done. Because we've been doing this too long. We've been spinning our wheels too long. Restructure, regroup, refocus, reassert ourselves on the world scene. And then keep in mind, July 4th. July 4th, I would love to see every Californian home, every Californian car, everything, everywhere in California, decked out with our bear flag, the flag of the Bear Republic, the California Republic. Because ultimately we are a republic within the nation of the United States. We are our own entity still to this day, recognized across all levels of the government. Why won't we pluck that apple and feed ourselves? Why can't we? There's no reason why we can't. Why shouldn't we? There's no real reason why we shouldn't. So why won't we? Why don't we? And that's up for you all to decide. I know, for me, the answer is clear. I have to do this. And not just for me, because I'm only one. There are 40 million of us. Some of them are good people who I place a high value on. A lot are people I don't personally know, but I would like to. And I think that's another thing with us Californians. We're very friendly. We're very welcoming. We're very compassionate. We care about each other. And we care about people who aren't Californian. So let's get this done. Seriously. It's long overdue. We should have done it the moment that Trump took office. It's been years of him in office and a year of him out of office. Nothing has changed from, when it all really hit the fan. Nothing's really changed, even over the new boss, because he's the same as the old boss who was actually doing this new boss's routine anyway. So let's get this done, folks. Let's come together. Send me an email, JSRVS, that's Juliet Sierra Robert Victor Sierra 86 @gmail.com. Send me an email, put in the subject, I'm interested in Calexit. I am going to see that, and I am opening it immediately. If you give me some way to contact you that works for you, I am going to reach out. I am going to contact you. Do you want to talk to the head of Calexit? Here's your chance. Tell me what's on your mind. If you get verbally abusive, I may, tell you I don't really take verbal abuse like that. But something tells me if you're this interested, it's not about verbal abuse. It's about getting involved. And again, that's exactly what we need. We need all of you to get involved, put all of our collective talent to use, to really good use. We'll make it happen like that.
That concludes our interview with Jason Wright. I hope that you found it informative. We tried to cover a lot of the material. We will have, of course, continuing discussions, but the point of this, and I hope that we accomplished it, was for you to see why Jason Wright was the right person for this job and why he had my full faith and confidence in the work that he's already done and in what I believe that he will accomplish within the next few months and following year. If you have additional questions or if you'd like to talk to Jason again, please email me, marcus.ruiz.evans@gmail.com, or Jason, or go to our weekly meetings every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Pacific, which are in partnership with the Liberty Block. Thank you very much. See if there's any additional comments. Okay, we'll end it there, and thank you very much. This concludes our interview with Jason Wright, the CEO of Calexit. Thank you for watching and hope to see you soon.